Hello, it's Jason again with Overland America, and today we are taking you on an adventure at the AOAA Off-Road Park in Pennsylvania. This is a legal off-road park. There is a fee to it to get in. They have, I'm not for sure the exact amount, but there's hundreds of miles of trails you can choose from. They have different difficulty levels. They have green trails for beginner, blue trails for intermediate, black trails for advanced, and red trails for oh my god, we are going to have to trailer our Jeep home after this one. The choice is yours, and it all depends on your experience level and what your vehicle and modifications are and what you're capable of doing. In any case, we've been here a few times, and it always is an enjoyable situation, and it always tests our abilities and our vehicle's abilities. So stay tuned and check out if we made it through this one, and I hope you enjoyed it, and you won't want to miss a minute of this. So when we first arrive at the AOAA, we start our trip off early in the morning, around 8 a.m., and it's we pull into the big parking lot. Well, here is where you can air down. You meet up with your group, and pay your fees, get your bracelet, and get ready to hit the road and do what all the AOA has to offer. As you can see here, we've accomplished that part, and we're starting to pull out with our group and go through the checkpoint. At the checkpoint, they check you to make sure you're not carrying any contraband that's not allowed on the into the park, which would be alcohol, things like that. So they do ask you to pull over and open your cooler before you pass the gate and go into the park area. So that being said, let's see where we go. Now that our group is together, let's get the show on the road. So we're heading up the main road of the park here and turning off onto one of our first trails for the day, and it would be a green trail. Off the green trails you can find connecting blue trails, red trails, and black trails. Whatever tickles your fancy, and again, whatever your Jeep and you are capable of doing, you'll find it here at the AOAA Off-Road Park in Pennsylvania. In our convoy, as you can see, we are 7 Jeeps at this particular time, and we have a guy in the beginning, in the front, who is the lead Jeep, and then we have one in the back that's the tail gunner. The tail gunner's job is to make sure no one gets left behind, and the lead Jeep is to find us trails that everybody in the group is capable of driving, and nobody gets stuck or in trouble on any of these trails. So as you can see here, we're turning off on this first trail here, which I believe is a blue trail or possibly a green trail. They're not always posted very clearly, at least I didn't see them all the time. But you can get a map from the park when you first pay your fees and go out onto the into the park. That you just look on the map and see what color trail it is. Again, as you can see here, we are starting our ascent up the trailheads, and if you stay tuned, you will see we did get into some pretty hairy situations. Along with a couple of us in our group decided they were going to try out a black trail. You don't want to miss that, so keep watching. Some of these turns, as you can see here, were very sharp turns. Sometimes you had to like back up and reposition to make the turn. As a couple of people in our group found out. I mean, we had one guy who lost a mirror and dented a fender, not on this particular run, and I don't have actual footage of it, but he did nonetheless during the day. He was driving a relatively stock Jeep, but he handled it very well, and it came out all good in the end. So as you can see here, also the things that some of these trails are way more rockier than others. You will find that 4 low is your friend. 4 low second or 4 low third is the way to go. I'm driving a 6-speed manual, but most of the people in our group had automatics, I believe, except for one other who also had a standard transmission. And some of us were just getting used to trying to figure out, the best gearing and stuff like that with the standard transmission to be in to overcome some of these obstacles, especially me, since I had to put a new clutch in a few weeks prior to this trip, and I had not really been able to take it off-road to figure out the release on it and everything, because it was a little different from the original clutch, which was, as you could probably imagine, was worn out. And as you can see here, we have to navigate through this narrow path here where there's trees on both sides. And then we're coming up on this trail here. The camera doesn't really do it justice, but it is very steep. So let me let you check this out, and I'll check back in with you at the end. If you see our trail guide here on the left, he's looking to see if anybody needs help and helping them through it, along with taking some videos and stuff of the club members as they come through. Okay, so as you can see here, we're waiting at the top, and this is an even steeper and narrower descent through a rocky pathway. We're doing here is because it is so steep and you can slide forward, is you want to make sure that you have adequate spacing between you and the vehicle in front of you, because you do not want to slide into the back of them. And as everyone who owns a Jeep knows, the brakes on a Jeep are sketchy at best, even in great condition. Just make sure when you're coming down a trail like this that you have a nice clearance, and you know what to do. This is I believe is a blue trail. It is probably it's a pretty steep angle. It's steeper than the previous one, and it's very shelly, and you slide down a lot. So let's take a look and see how this ends up. As you can see here, one of our Jeeps decided he was going to attempt a more treacherous path or track here, which didn't quite work out for him. And at this point, he's telling me he needs to back up. The hill is such an incline, I'm not thinking that I can back up here to give him more space. So I'm telling him that, I'm just going to pull alongside of him on the other track, and get past him. That way he has plenty of room to maneuver and back up and get onto the track that I'm fixing to go down now.
Whoa, oh, slow down, whoa, easy. Coming down nice and slow. Easy, let's slide down, there you go.
Cage rattler. A cage rattler. Rattled the cage.
Easy.
Yeah.
That way you can't fly on the rock, bro. Ew.
Let's take a little minute and do a little bit of show and tell on these Jeeps that are in our convoy. As you can see, some of them are stock, like this young guy here, but then as you can see, this is one of the ones that got some damage. If you can see the damage there in his fender. But a lot of these Jeeps are really nice, and people have put a lot of work, time, and money into them. When you look at these and you can check them out, you get ideas, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I want to do that to mine. Oh, I want to do that to mine. Well, be careful of that, because then you start spending a lot of money. And here's the oldest Jeep in the group, the CJ. This is my Jeep. As you can see, it's set up for overlanding and off-road, and it held its own with the newer Jeeps that were in our convoy. This is a Black Diamond Trail. This is the trail. This is a Black Diamond Trail, and this is a trail for experts only. Two of our Jeep Party members were wanting to attempt this, so we all pulled over to cheer them on and to give them a little bit of help or assistance in wheel placement as needed. This is the Black Diamond Trail, and this is from one of the second to the hardest trails in the park, hardest trail being a red trail. So this is definitely expert only trail. As you'll see, we finally got them up, but it wasn't easy.
We're not doing it.
No, I'm saying him. I don't think he's
I
gonna make
like
that
my Jeep too much to do
cut. I
that.
don't think he's gonna make that cut. That's what he says otherwise.
Okay, they got through the easy part, and he's looking very happy and pleased with himself. Let's hope it's all downhill from here. I don't think so, but we'll see.
You look up fear on his face.
Just be careful of that drop on the driver's side as you get to the tree, because that's what's gonna probably push you back towards the rock. Okay? Look, right there, as he clears the tree hump, that's where it gets sticky. It probably would have been better going this way. Missed the fucking rock completely.
Hook your winch up, pull that log out of the way, and then you go that way.
You're gonna just pull the fucking log this way with your winch and went straight up that motherfucker. Huh? Yeah, that's what I told him. Get clear of the log. It's easier. Look, he's already on the tree. He's already on the tree. Got your driver on the tree there.
So this says the next step after getting through the relatively easy mud puddle step is if you've got to thread the needle, you've got to get through the tree on one side and the rock on the other side, and the rocks beneath you are pretty shelly and very slippery and movable.
Well, he's not gonna-
As you can see, it took us quite a while in positioning to get him to a point where he could get through this. He is relatively a long wheelbase, so he has a little bit more maneuvering to do than the short wheelbase that's coming up behind him.
Beer is really close to that tree.
Just, still good. Keep it straight.
I'm capturing the look of fear on your face right now.
How much damage?
You haven't hit nothing yet.
You have to be very careful in this situation because you know, he has a really nice Jeep, and he really does not want to do any panel damage, nor do we want to cause him to do any panel damage. So in these situations, it's best to just like he's doing, is just jump out and assess the track yourself before moving on. That way you can assure yourself that you're taking the correct track and you've got enough clearance to make it through
Once you
without
catch this
any
rock,
damage.
you're gonna tilt that way. All right.
Back. You're kind of going right into the tree. You're gonna hit the tree with your tire.
Jeep number 2 decided that he was going to try a different line than the original Jeep that's kind of stuck there between the two trees and the rocks to see if it was going to be more doable. But what we end up finding out here is that, you know, this line is just a little bit too steep. So he's going to have to go back and wait for the other Jeep to get through, as he just did. And now it's his turn to thread the needle and go between the rock and the tree. Some ways, the only way to get through is to do a little track building. As you can see here, where we were stacking rocks to give him a little bit more lift so that he could clear some of the obstacles, and it would kind of throw him to the passenger side a little bit to help him clear that tree and that rock.
Now you're in a real pickle now.
So they both finally made it through the one obstacle there, and the rest of it is just a really steep incline on some shelly rocks. We, as a group, decided that the rest of us were not going to attempt this trail, so we ran a bypass, which was a steep trail on its own over here, and we decided to meet them on the other side.
Keep going. All right, Jay, now you know.
It's so loose. It's cold.
Yeah.
It's digging right up, so you got to keep speed.
You kind of ruined my momentum.
I know. Yeah, you're not going nowhere because it's just loose. I mean, there's no rocks in the way. Anything goes slide, they'll go back and forth. It's fine. Keep speed.
This was a steep trail, so what we were talking about earlier is that there was a Jeep in front of me who had gotten stuck on the trail and started spinning tires, which caused me to stop in the rear, losing my momentum to get up this, because the key to getting up this really shelly, coaly incline is to get some speed and follow it through until you get to the top like we just did. Fortunately, I was able to do that at this point, even after losing my momentum earlier due to the other Jeep getting stuck. As you can see, let's watch the rest of our Jeep club come up the top of this trail. As you can see, it's a pretty steep and shelly trail, and most people made it up fine without too much drama.
That's clear. I found a good line.
If you haven't guessed it already, this Jeep making its way up here now was the same one that was trying the Black Diamond Trail earlier that we were hoping thread the needle. And as you can see, he made it up unscathed and rejoined the group along with the other one. Way to go, guys. You did a good job.
Kick it into four-wheel drive.
We'll drive here, okay? Workout today.
I guess he hit us this year.
And if you haven't guessed it, this is our tail gunner, giving us the thumbs up that he had a good run and that everyone is up the trail now, and we can move on to the next chapter in our trail riding adventure. As you can see, when you're riding these trails, you got to be prepared for anything. And right at this point, I started spinning rear tires. The trail got a little steep, all of a sudden, and very, very gravelly and shelly. So I was able to back up a little bit and get a little speed, get traction, get over that spot. And as I made my ascent to the top, there was no slowing down. As I turned and said to my co-pilot, Luis Pacheco, we're at the point of no return now, so let's put the pedal to the metal and make it to the top. Hopefully we don't slide back down. As you can see, we finally made it to the top, and I'm pulling up next to the lead Jeep, as I was number 2 at this point in the convoy. And there were also a couple of quads. The road is very narrow and very steep, so as you can see, only one group can go at a time. So the quads were waiting for our group to get up so that they could trans down the hill. So, and that we finished that with great ease, and now we are taking an alternate route here, through the woods, through the trees, and on some very rocky terrain, as we start taking our journey back towards the main road and getting ready for the end of the day, because the sun is setting on the AOAA and you don't want to be left behind in the park when they close the gates.
With the Navy seal on the back, if you might want to look under your rig. I can't tell if those are wires hanging loose or a tree.
Is that us?
I don't know.
Talking to them. Here. The TJ at the very back.
That's us.
Yeah, we're gonna check it. Go check it.
On it. Look, you got wires or a tree.
It's a tree. We thought we'd bring the forest with us.
Now you're tearing up the trees.
Did you see that tree that got caught in my jack on top when we were driving a minute ago?
Sounds great, man. What's your name?
Jason. As we wrap up our day here, four-wheel driving and having a blast at the AOAA in Pennsylvania, we all meet at the trailhead to discuss the events that's taken place and to prepare to head back to the parking lot and air up and head home for the day. And hope you enjoyed watching this as much as we enjoyed making it. And as always, we'll catch you on the next trip.